Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. Today's show is called Crowdsourced Criminal Investigations for Profit. People have been offering rewards to solve crimes for decades, for centuries actually. Most of the time it doesn't work because the public either doesn't know about the reward or the reward is too small, or the people with the skills necessary to help solve the crime don't connect with the actual process because they don't know about it either. We're developing a new technology that will solve all those issues. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, comment, and follow us. I'd also like to tell you that the show is sponsored by HollywoodIsCalling.com. It's a company which allows you to purchase live calls with more than 100 celebrities for just $19.95. It's a great gift for yourself or for somebody you know. It's really cool to get a call from your favorite actor or actress. So check them out. It's HollywoodIsCalling.com. Now let's get started. Most people don't realize that 2/3 of most murders go unsolved or without a conviction. The same is often true for other major crimes. The problem is that it's really hard for police departments with limited resources to solve crimes at a time when the amount of crime out there is going up. It's skyrocketing in some areas. We're solving this issue with a new technology we're developing called the Crime Bank. Crime Bank will solve the problems listed above by bringing some very powerful new tools to bear in a way that will help law enforcement solve many more crimes much more quickly. One of the things that it will do quite cleverly is that it will allow students pursuing an education and a degree in criminal science to volunteer as interns with their local police departments in exchange for extra credit with their local community colleges or universities. The way it works is the Crime Bank will allow the student to commit a specified number of work hours as a voluntary intern with their police department in exchange for credit. This technology will allow the volunteering students to help local police officers and detectives with their jobs. They will help them with current live cases, and they'll help them with cold cases. The idea being that every detective out there, in his effort to solve a crime, has to do tasks which are very important, and then they also have to perform tasks which are very rudimentary and basic, but they eat up a lot of the detective's time. What Crime Bank does is it allows the detective to assign tasks that are very basic and rudimentary like that to some of their volunteering interns. The interns can assist them, and this frees up the detectives to pursue the more important work, the more important tasks. So the students benefit by getting tremendous experience and contacts with the police department, and of course they will also earn the extra credit with their college. And the detectives have more of their time freed up for really important tasks that allow them to progress more quickly towards the solving of the crime. So one level of the crowd bank of the crime bank will allow the police officers to benefit from the assistance, the voluntary assistance of criminal justice students helping them. And on a second level, if the police detectives wish, they can also open up the case to the public in general, so that people from the local area or even offshore can contribute their assistance to the solving of the case in a way that would advance things even more quickly. Now, the Crime Bank will also have a built-in reward allocator. This is a patented technology which will track the amount of effort and the number of hours worked by the various volunteers, whether it's locally or domestically or offshore, in their efforts to solve the crime. And then, if it is solved, the the uh, the reward allocator will determine, who gets what percentage of the reward. Whether it will be split up evenly amongst all the individuals who contributed, or whether a larger percentage of it will go to the person who actually solved the case by providing the specific solution. That can all be done automatically. Now, the guidelines and the rules for the reward allocation will be determined by the individual or organization that puts up the reward. So at the very onset, they'll decide how they want the reward allocated, amongst the various volunteers, and then the system will allocate it accordingly should the crime be solved. Now, the crime bank will also have an expertise and resource database. That means that each of the volunteers and interns registering to participate in this service will be asked about any specific skills or resources that they may have that may be of value or may be able to assist the detectives with the solving of their case. These could be specific language skills. They may be software skills. They may be contacts or connections within the community that may be of value for a particular case. It'll all go into the database and be brought to the attention of specific detectives who have specific criteria that they need assistance with. There will also be another feature called a cold case crowdsourced re-examination technology, which will be really helpful for cases that have just run out of steam. Sometimes the original investigating detectives simply run out of ideas. And these cases, they get put in the file cabinet and forgotten. Well, what this technology will do is it will allow the detectives to redact the sensitive information in the case file, like the names and identifying information of the various individuals in the case, and then to make this file viewable to registered volunteers, wherever they may be. Once again, they could be local, they could be, on the other side of the country. But now, instead of sitting dormant in some police file cabinet, you can literally have hundreds of fresh eyes looking at a case and trying to determine if they can come up with, unique answers. If and when they do, if they have a serious potential lead or idea that they think, can benefit the detectives in some way, then they'll be able to contact the detectives via email and forward the information to them to see if the detectives think, it makes sense, if it's able to advance the case in some way. The reason this is so advantageous is, there are millions of people out there who love to solve problems. They love to solve games and challenges. And when you bring the resources and the skills of an enormous population of people like that to bear on a single case file, anything is possible. Another strength of the crime bank technology will be its ability to help solve random crimes. The reason that random crimes are so difficult to solve is that there is no linear connection between the criminal and the victim. It's just random. However, if you can bring the efforts of a large number of volunteers from a specific geographic area, the area where the crime took place, then who knows what somebody may have seen or heard. And that can also be made available to that information can also be made available to the detectives. There's another patented new technology in Crime Bank, and that is something called game masking technology. Now, what is game masking? A lot of times, detectives will go into a crime zone, and they'll do door-to-door investigations to see if anybody saw anything. And if they're in a high crime area, there is usually a large percentage of people who simply will claim they didn't see anything because they don't want to be thought of as a snitch. So what this technology does, what game masking does, is it allows a detective to convert the facts of a case and to mask a lot of the identifying information um, into into a game template, and then to make that game available to the public, allowing them to try and solve it. And those who do solve it can earn either points or they can earn, you know, rewards. Now, financial rewards, actual financial rewards. Now, what's interesting is that people who would never think about snitching on somebody they know or a neighbor usually have no problem at all trying to uh, solve the crime facts um, of a game they're playing, and the facts of that game will be very thinly veiled. So it won't be difficult at all for them to make a link between the crime that they just saw occur in the game and the real life crime that just happened in their neighborhood. And in doing so, some of them may solve the crime on via the game, and that information would then be forwarded to the detectives if it's relevant and it has a high probability of somehow solving the case. Another problem with major crimes, with murders and other major crimes, is that there's a 48-hour window for many of those crimes. If you don't solve the crime, if you don't solve a murder in 48 hours, or some of these other crimes in 48 hours, then the probability of it being solved beyond that window diminishes rapidly. So how do you address that? Because obviously detectives are working all day long in an effort to solve the crime within that window. But every detective who's a human being goes home at the end of the night and they sleep. So you really don't have 48 hours. You have 24 hours of wake time. How do you solve that? Well, Crime Bank will allow volunteers in different time zones to continue helping a detective work throughout the night by reviewing the data, by reviewing whatever the detective may need assistance with, so that while the detective is sleeping throughout the night, you may have dozens or even hundreds of volunteers continuing to work the facts of the case in an effort to make some progress throughout the night. Then, when the detective shows up at the office in the morning, if any of those volunteers came up with anything significant, they will have emailed the detective by the end of their shift, and that detective will have that information waiting for them in their email at the start of their day. What this does is it effectively turns the investigation into a 24-hour a day investigation, and thereby utilizes more of that 48-hour window in solving that crime. So we're developing this technology in-house, and we look forward to bringing it to market. If you're an investor, or if you'd like to participate in this project in some way, then feel free to contact us at johnarkshow@gmail.com. That's JOHNARCSHOW@gmail.com. Thank you very much, and we will see you soon.